The Carolina Panthers obviously traded up for a quarterback, and Bryce Young is everything you want a franchise quarterback to be. Not only is he very accurate, but he's also very intelligent, with great awareness of what is happening around him at all times. He elevates his offensive line consistently with his timing and movement, while also understanding the balance between being an aggressive and careful decision maker to best benefit his offense and best attack the situation that he's in. Young's size issues aren't a big concern because of how good he is at moving within the pocket to find passing lanes, and his ability to function as a passer outside of the pocket. He's not a crazy athlete, but he's athletic enough to be effective from either flat. His rounded skill set means he can be a day one starter with minimal inconsistency and no real drop off for the offense around him. With Bryce Young gone, the Houston Texans have a couple of quarterbacks to pick between at second overall. Will Levis has the size and appearance that NFL draft evaluators love, and CJ Stroud has all the numbers from playing in that Ohio State offense. But the second best quarterback in this draft is Anthony Richardson. He needs to improve his mechanics, but he's far from the project player that he's discussed as. Richardson has phenomenal feel for the position and makes plays his peers can't. His ability to adapt to pressure inside the pocket and generate big plays on vertical throws will make him a nightmare to game plan against in the NFL. Don't get hung up on some of his uglier misses in college that can all too easily distract from his overall quality. And if they choose to, the Texans can afford to sit him for a season if they have the patience, the same way the Kansas City Chiefs did with Patrick Mahomes. The Arizona Cardinals are in a rare place. They're currently en route to a full-on rebuild, but they're also tied to a relatively young quarterback for the foreseeable future. That quarterback has been inconsistent and is injured now. This pick could go in any direction and will be obvious trade bait, but if they stay here and pick a player, then it's hard to look past Jalen Carter. The Georgia defensive lineman has plenty of question marks over his character that would make most prospects undraftable, or at least 7th round picks. But on the football field he's special. So special that most teams will look past his character concerns. His tape is phenomenal. In terms of pure football ability, he's one of the best draft prospects of the last decade. If he stays out of trouble and commits to the sport, you're not just talking about Aaron Donald comparisons, you're looking at someone who could have a better career than him. And since the Cardinals' rebuild is going to be prolonged regardless of whether this pick hits or not, it's a risk that makes sense for them. In this scenario, the Colts have more quarterbacks available to them than they were likely expecting, but the Colts have tried to force the quarterback position over and over in recent seasons. If they pick one here, they'd be making the same mistake, just in a different way. Neither Levis nor Stroud are worth top 5 picks, but Tyree Wilson is. He goes ahead of Will Anderson Jr. because Wilson is one of the cleanest draft prospects of recent seasons. He should immediately give the Colts an impact edge rusher to complement DeForest Buckner. Buckner is still just 29, so they can build a partnership in a potentially dominant defensive front over the next 3 or 4 years. It's not a quarterback, but Wilson is the type of player that every single team in the league would offer huge money to if he was hitting the free agent market. He's a polished impact edge rusher who will immediately come into an NFL team and be effective. The Seattle Seahawks could take a big step forward in 2023 with the right moves. Geno Smith was a revelation last season and the offense remained stacked heading into this season. They desperately need difference makers on defense though, so it's a fairly straightforward decision for them here. Will Anderson Jr. ticks every box on paper. He's crazy athletic, he has prototype size, and he racked up big sack numbers in college. He is a premium pass rushing prospect. But that's not to say he's a surefire home run pick either. With the numbers and athleticism, you'd actually expect more from his tape. It's less impressive than you expect because he still has to learn how to work past offensive tackles when working one-on-one off the edge. His work rate and athleticism alone allowed him to beat college tackles, and that won't be the case in the NFL. If he takes coaching well, the Seahawks could be looking at a future defensive player of the year. If he realizes his full potential on top of that, he might be the next DeMarcus Ware. There's definitely more risk than being let on here, but the upside still makes him worthy of a top 5 pick, and the Seahawks will be delighted that he fell into their lap. Aiden Hutchinson proved to be a very good selection for the Detroit Lions last year. They have their premium pass rusher to build their defense around, and now they can add Christian Gonzalez to be their number 1 cornerback behind him. Gonzalez and DEVON Witherspoon are touted as the 2 best cornerbacks in this class, and while Witherspoon delivers big hits to make highlight plays, Gonzalez is a better cover cornerback and all-around player. His ball skills and intelligence maximize the impact of his quick feet and speed. He has some Darrelle Revis qualities when mirroring receivers in man coverage, and he doesn't fear physicality and run support. Gonzalez has the potential to be the best cornerback in the NFL at some point in his career, and he can be a foundational piece for the Lions over the next 10 years. Moving on from Derek Carr puts the pressure on Josh McDaniels to have a good season in 2023. McDaniels needs an impact player with his top 10 pick, and fortunately for him, Peter Skoronski is still available. Skoronski will immediately start and excel at right guard for the Raiders, making it more likely that Jimmy Garoppolo can be effective throughout the regular season. His future might be as one of the best guards in the NFL, or he can kick outside to tackle eventually if the Raiders need him there. Skoronski has come under greater criticism as the draft has worn on because of the length of his arms, but he has Andrew Whitworth potential. His arm length will quickly be forgotten once games actually begin. The Atlanta Falcons might be the most directionless team in the NFL. Moving on from Marcus Mariota to Desmond Ridder doesn't make any sense based on how each quarterback played in 2023. Ridder didn't show a skill set that suggests he can be the answer long term, so the Falcons need a new quarterback. While he's not a solution, Ridder might be able to help the team transition to CJ Stroud as the next franchise quarterback. Stroud is huge arm talent. His deep ball is phenomenal and his ability to throw the ball on the move matches the best quarterbacks in the NFL. But that Ohio State offense rarely put him in a pocket that resembled what he'd have to navigate in the NFL. He's an accurate, pure passer, and the acumen is there for him to develop into an NFL starter, but he's going to need to land with a patient coaching staff. Stroud's overall skill set is actually somewhat similar to Ryan Tannehill's, the deep ball and the ability to throw on the move. Arthur Smith did a great job with Tannehill in Tennessee, but the question is, how patient can he be with Stroud if he needs to win now to keep his job? A team that isn't looking for a new quarterback is the Chicago Bears. The Bears are all in on Justin Fields after trading away the first overall pick. They got him a number one receiver in that trade in the form of DJ Moore, and now they can make Broderick Jones his starting left tackle. If you're going to buy into Fields, then you need to give him an offensive line built to run block who can maul open running lanes for him and keep the running game on track down to down. Jones is already a great run blocker, and while he needs to improve his technique at the next level, he has the athletic traits and footwork to develop into a high-end pass blocker too. Jones and the Bears are a perfect fit for each other. This is basically a free hit for the Philadelphia Eagles. They've got a Super Bowl caliber roster with very few real needs, so it's a luxury to add a top 10 prospect who they can develop gradually. DEVON Witherspoon will be attractive, but the upside of Myles Murphy wins out in the end. Murphy clearly doesn't know what he's doing as a pass rusher just yet, but his performances against the run, his ability to be disruptive inside and outside, and his athletic profile suggests he can be developed into a great football player. The Eagles can drop him into their defensive line rotation initially to help alleviate the loss of Javon Hargrave to the San Francisco 49ers. Really, the Eagles can go in any direction they want with this pick. It might even be a great time to trade out and continue to stockpile picks in future drafts. Malik Willis clearly isn't an NFL caliber quarterback, and the way in which the Titans called plays for him as a rookie suggests they realised that already. Will Levis is the only big name quarterback left, but his flaws are so overwhelming and there's only so much pointing to Josh Allen's unique development that you can do to justify a draft pick. So the Titans select Paris Johnson. The offensive tackle is a premium prospect who doesn't necessarily fit with the current setup of the Titans offense perfectly, but he'll be a great player for them in the long term. He's a zone blocker more than a man blocker and will ultimately prove to be the long-term blindside protector in Taylor Lewan's place. Johnson can be the Titans' first significant move in transitioning their offense away from the Derrick Henry-oriented unit that it is now as the running back encroaches on his 30s into a more pass-oriented scheme. The Titans have plenty of needs, but tackles of Johnson's pedigree don't come around very often. In a perfect world, Peter Skoronski would have fallen a few more spots and the Texans could plug him in at right guard so that Shaq Mason could move to centre where he's better suited at this stage of his career. Or in an alternate reality, this draft would be loaded with wide receiver talent for the Texans to choose from. But instead, they get DEVON Witherspoon. Adding a premium talent at a premium position is hardly a problem. Witherspoon is an aggressive, versatile defender who isn't as smooth as Gonzalez in man coverage, but can bully receivers in their routes. He also plays great zone coverage and punishes ball carriers in run support. His highlight reel of hits on ball carriers in college is very impressive. The Texans desperately need more talent on the defensive side. Witherspoon not only gives them a potentially elite cornerback, but his playing style could quickly shift the identity and mindset of the wider unit. He's an impact player who will make a big impact on his new team. Whether Aaron Rodgers is the starting quarterback in New York next year or not, the Jets need to add to their offensive line. It wouldn't be a surprise if Darnell Wright wound up being the best offensive lineman in this class. His good plays are great, and he has a pass blocking skill set to rival anyone else's. He's not consistent though. Wright can be a plug and play starting lineman at right tackle, but his outlook from there will be determined by his technique and whether he can refine and control his aggression or if he becomes reckless and off balance to the point that he's a liability for his teammates. The Jets will hope that Mekhi Becton and Wright can play together for a long time, but if not, if Becton's health never gets better, then Wright will be a candidate to start at left tackle long term in his place. It's not a year to need a wide receiver, and the Patriots have already done some work to retool their offense by adding Mike Gesicki and Juju Smith-Schuster. But adding some real speed at the wide receiver position will completely alter the offense and open up passing lanes for quarterback Mac Jones. Zay Flowers has huge upside because of his athleticism, vision in space, and route running technique. He could be the next Antonio Brown, but he needs to show greater control in all facets of his game and develop more upper body strength if he's going to follow that path on the field. The Patriots have also shown a willingness to incorporate receivers of his ilk into their offense with specific play designs, so he can contribute early in his rookie season. That should help him contribute immediately as he attempts to add bulk to his frame. This isn't an ideal move for the Patriots, but it's the best option they have at this stage of the draft. The Packers are in the same holding pattern as the New York Jets when it comes to Aaron Rodgers, but they're more certain of what they need because they know who's going to be their starting quarterback. Defensively, there are plenty of interesting, if not necessarily amazing prospects to pick from, but the best move is to help Jordan Love as much as possible. That means adding Jaxon Smith-Njigba to Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs. The two current Packers receivers project as vertical threats, outside receivers with bigger bodies and impressive athleticism. Smith-Njigba is the perfect complement to them as a possession, slot-based receiver. His injury issues, his limited sample of tape and production, and his lack of breakaway speed mean he would typically be closer to the second round, but such is the lack of top-end talent at the position in this class, he is bumped up a little bit. If he stays healthy and proves to be an effective starting receiver in the slot, then the Packers won't care where they drafted him. Ron Rivera is entering a critical season for his future in Washington, and the team have uncertainty at the quarterback position. A developmental quarterback won't help in 2023 though, so Rivera should instead look at another key position on the defensive side. Cam Smith is a better prospect than Joey Porter Jr. Porter Jr. is regularly mocked to the Commanders, but his lack of control and balance in coverage are alarming. Smith offers similar physicality and size to Porter, and that's something that Rivera loves in his outside defensive backs. But unlike Porter, he has better footwork and body control, and he is already an accomplished zone coverage defender. He will need to make major strides in man coverage technique to become a quality NFL starter though. He will be aided in his development by an endlessly talented front seven in Washington who only need adequate performances from their defensive backs to make the unit as a whole great.